This is the very first trade show for veganism, for vegan products. And as a vegan myself for 20 years, I've never known a time like it. Right now, it is incredible. I used to jump for joy when I went somewhere and they had soya milk. And now it's just a given. If you are a restaurant owner or a cafe owner, if you're providing food, you need to keep up. You know, you can go somewhere now and it's, yes, we have almond milk, we have coconut milk, we have hemp milk, we have, you know, and I feel sorry for people that just have boring old cow. How limiting to not be dairy free. But I'm so excited, and come on in, you can join in, you can wander in, wander out. We'll have people wandering in, wandering out, and that's what it's like, because there's so much on today. Come on in. Mobile massage, I'll be seeing you later. Vegan sports stars. These guys blow me away. They are fantastic. I've got so much to learn from them. They're passionate vegans. They take it to the next level. They run extreme marathons all over the world, in the Sahara Desert. Don't look there looking all shy. We know it's you, Fiona Oakes, world record-breaking expert, like all of them. Christine, Patrick, Kate, they're absolutely fantastic. The stage is quite small. I'm going to stand there and sit there. I will stand unless my feet hurt me in my new boots. Then I will sit, and the stage is for these wonderful people. I'm going to call them up one at a time, and let's just have an ongoing massive round of applause for the most gorgeous Patrick. Come on, Patrick, come and take a seat over here. Kate Strong, Fiona Oakes, Christine over there. She's just run off of the tube like you do, not looking hot and sweaty like I do when I'm running anywhere. But these guys, they take veganism to the next level. The passion and their knowledge is incredible. What I would like, guys, is for you to all say a little bit about yourselves. We can start as well with why you love VegFest, because Nitin over there, our cameraman, will be very happy if you just say how much you love VegFest, so we can share that on our social media. But I'm going to pass all the microphone. Well, you can pass that microphone along and just tell us a little bit about you. Oh, see, ladies first. But yeah, let's take it away with Patrick, and I'm just going to sit here for a minute. Go on, Patrick.
Okay, I'm actually here for, I think, the 5th time now. I did my first VegFest just a few months after going vegan, actually. And now it has become the highlight of my whole year. So I'm on a lot of vegan events, and this is probably, I think, the biggest one of all of them, and probably the most fun one, because there's always a lot of crazy people here in London to meet, and it's always a great time to be here. And I'm looking forward to the next 3 days.
Great. I'm Kate Strong. I'm age group world champion in triathlon, and last year I was the world's first female to cycle for 24 hours non-stop on a bicycle, a static bicycle.
At VegFest as well.
I was in a little corner next to the toilet somewhere for 24 hours. I love VegFest because for what I give in inspiration, I receive so much more back from all of you here. It reminds me why I'm here to make a difference in the world, because everyone else is as well. So it's just a huge conscious movement, and every one of us is here doing our best, and I just love meeting all of you.
Hi, I'm Fiona Oakes, and I feel a bit embarrassed sitting here with all these illustrious athletes, because I never really consider myself as an athlete. I've got 3 world records in the marathon, and I've done Olympic qualifying and stuff for the marathon, but I'm just an animal advocate who likes to apply their advocacy to what I do. So to talk about athletics and sport. Oh, this is Percy Bear. He'll talk all he likes. He goes everywhere with me, and he loves to come to VegFest because he likes cakes and sweets, and I like to come to VegFest because it's just a great it's really inspiring to be around other like-minded people, to see the movement, how it's growing, because I've been vegan for over 40 years. And also as an information sharing resource, you can learn so much more, as Kate says, than you can ever teach people. So it's just fantastic to be here. And pass on.
Can you believe she's only got three world record titles, and she doesn't think she's an athlete? Okay, let's go over to Christine.
Hi, my name is Christine Bardaras. I'm a professional cyclist for 17 years and also a vegan for 17 years. There's no coincidence that those two are related. I became a pro, realized that I suck shit, and said, oh, gotta rethink this, and everything pointed to veganism. And so I actually became vegan first for myself out of selfish reasons. Then I found out all about the moral ramifications of my choice, which keeps me completely strict from head to toe my whole lifestyle for 17 years now. As for my results, I've been high ranked, as high as like 6th in the world and steady top 20 in the world for years. And I've raced like Women's Tour de France. I've won a bunch of international events. Goes on and on, yeah. I don't want to bore you with the details. But the reason why I actually right now I'm injured. So I had to put off the season that I'm doing now, but normally on Sunday I'm supposed to race a World Cup. And when I planned to come here, I still had the idea that I was going to do a World Cup on Sunday. So I also talked tomorrow at noon. Normally, an athlete wouldn't choose to do crazy travel. I live in Belgium, just before a World Cup, so important like that. But for me, it really means a lot to be here, especially, I mean, this is the first time we're ever having a full vegan trade show. I really never thought I'd ever see this day, so I'm absolutely thrilled, honored, and humbled to be a part of it. And just coming here to VegFest every year, I come here, as you can see, it's usually, I'm racing back to back. But the reason why I really come here is to inspire others the way I've been inspired myself. And if I could just arm just a few people with some knowledge to help themselves, so as well as help them when they go out in the world and they have to sometimes it feels like you're battling against the world as a vegan. And if I can just arm people just with that little bit of knowledge from what I've learned over the last 17 years as a pro athlete, then yeah, I'm going to be here. I'm going to stand tall, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help your lives to be healthier and to be easier along the way until this becomes a vegan world. So thanks for the invitation to come here, and thanks for hearing us talk. And I love you all, guys. Love you too.
That's lovely. Well, look, let's pass the microphone back to Patrick again. And, you sung the love of VegFest, which is wonderful. Can we hear a bit more in detail about what you actually do, Patrick?
Yes, of course. I think I'm sitting here with 3 great athletes who are all endurance athletes, which is a typical theme throughout the scene of vegan athletes. So you have a lot of endurance athletes there. And I think that has something to do with veganism going along with a healthy lifestyle, and being an endurance athlete is much more healthy than what I do. So let's come to what I do. So what I do is it's strength sports in all different fashions. So in the last 10 years, I've been focusing on strongman, which is, you could call it the mixed martial arts of strength sports. So it combines all other strength sports, and the idea is to bring different strength athletes together and see who is really the strongest of all. So you have weightlifters, you have bodybuilders, you have even wrestlers or powerlifters, and you bring them all together and then see who's really the strongest. At least that was the idea back more than 20 years ago when we started the whole thing. Now you have athletes who just begin by training for strongman, so they are like just genuinely strongmen. But back then it wasn't a thing, so you would have all these different athletes coming together, and for none of them to have an advantage over the others, they started creating new disciplines, and that's when things like truck pull or log lifting and stuff like that came into being. and that's what I do. I've been German champion in the lightweight category 2 times, in the heavyweight category 2011, after being vegetarian for several years. And then after I won the title, I've got a lot of media attention because obviously for a lot of people it was surprising to see a vegetarian being the strongest guy in the country, in a big country like Germany. And that media attention put me into a little bit, problematic situation, because at that time I already knew that being an ethical vegetarian, I really had to go vegan to do it the right thing, but I wasn't really convinced it would be possible because there was no one on the same level doing it. So I thought probably it's impossible. And then after having all this media thing going on, and after realizing that I could actually, through the media, influence a lot of young guys, I thought I just have to do it, because at the moment I'm the only one who is in the position to use that kind of force that I had, and I wanted to make the best out of it, and I didn't want to promote vegetarianism, I wanted to promote veganism. So I went vegan without really knowing what would happen. And then a lot of awesome things happened. So I actually even improved my performances. I'm doing great. I'm vegan 6 years now. So in December 1st, it's going to be exactly 6 years. Health-wise, I'm much better off now, and I'm feeling great, and it's been the best decision in my life. And for the last 6 years, I've been promoting other people doing the same thing.
That's wonderful, Patrick. Fantastic. I love that. And, you know, I first met you, obviously, when you first come to VegFest, and you'd only just gone vegan. And, you know, obviously, he hasn't exactly faded away over these past 6 years. But I've got to say, you seem to look better and better every time I see you. And you look fantastic. You look, seriously, he looks younger now than 6 years ago when you first went vegan. Do you think it's just a coincidence, or? No. Really? Oh, just, yeah. Kate wants the microphone. This is what these sports stars are like.
I didn't want to be unpolite and just grab it. Now it's, I also lost some weight now in the last 1.5 years because I had an injury. So I think me looking better has something to do with losing some weight. My hair is shorter. But I would absolutely say that being plant-based is so helpful with aging less than you normally would do. So I totally think that, well, I don't know, skin and everything, it gets so much better when you just don't have all that. Like, as a vegetarian, I still had tons of dairy, and I think that has a bad impact on pretty much everything, also on how you look. So that's a nice side effect.
Yeah. Kate, let's hand over to you now. So again, a similar thing. How has being vegan, and remind everybody how long you've been vegan for, how has that impacted your athleticness?
Sure. So I've been vegan 3.5, 4 years. It was accidental in that I was trialing and erroring on my body. And when I found it something that worked, I just continued to do it and backed it up with some research afterwards to make sure that it wasn't a one-off. So initially I eliminated dairy. I did have asthma, and to back up what you said, my skin has cleared up. My father keeps asking me if I'm wearing contact lenses because my eyes are bluer than he's ever seen. And it really elevated my sport. So yes, I'm an endurance athlete. So I used to, Ironman distances, 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then a marathon at the end of it. So I ran a 3-hour 45 marathon off a bike. So it is all about endurance and long term, but to also back up on the strength, body weight, so power to weight ratio, so what I can put out in wattage is higher than any man I've ever trained with, and that is off a vegan diet. So there's nothing to do with just endurance, we also need it for strength. And veganism, I put down to that completely. I can breathe deeper so I can push for longer. So even in those short sprint times, which I know I don't do a lot, but in my training, I could dig deeper for longer and hold it. And my muscles recovered a lot quicker. So turnover, when I used to eat meat, I'd wake up in the morning feeling a bit lethargic. My legs would feel still a little tired. I'm not sure if you've ever had that. You've done a run, or maybe you've gone out and the next day you're feeling a bit wobbly because your legs are still recovering and repairing. Because the food in me is absorbed quicker, your body can only do one process at a time efficiently. So once the food was out of my stomach, it could then get to work repairing my body. So in my sleep, it was actually recovering quicker. So I'd wake up in the morning fresh, so I could get more out of my next training as well. So my body just really sort of thrived off this meal of eating whole food, plant-based, vegan food. And that really, really, without that, I wouldn't be where I am today in my sport and what I achieved last year as well.
And I think what I love about hearing, because these are experts, you know, I'm just vegan and I've just been doing it for 20 years and I've seen great changes, but I've never monitored it in the way that an athlete has to or does. And they know about their recovery times. They can see different changes in their body, how faster they've become or stronger, or they've got more energy. And these are the guys that monitor that. They have to know, because that fraction of a better performance can make the difference between being first and being second, perhaps. It could give you the edge. So I love hearing from these guys that live and breathe, you know, veganism to a peak performance state. I think it's fantastic.
And to back up what you just said, it's not just about being first or being second. It's about being healthy or being ill. It's about being tired or being awake. It's about living your life maximum for today or being like sleepy and a bit away with it. So whatever level we're playing, it's not just for the top, it's for every level. If you want the most out of your day, this is the way to do it.
Fiona, let's pass the mic to you. We all know Fiona's a big foodie. No, she's not. And we all know your secret, don't we? That you don't even particularly like running, although you run all over the Sahara Desert and on the North Pole. And let's hear it for Fiona then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel really embarrassed sitting here with these guys because these guys are experts. I'm not an expert in anything particularly. I have been vegan. There's no before and after Fiona. I've been vegetarian since I was 3 and I went vegan when I was 6, and it's all been about for the animals for me. It's not about running or anything. My life, I have no before and after to compare with recovery or stuff. And I always say when I do my talks, the only time I actually think about my running is when I'm searching for like clothes to go and do it in. So I'm not an expert. It just works for me. I mean, I know my day is bound up with so many other things. I get up at 3:30 in the morning every morning because I've got 450 rescued animals to look after, and I have to do that before I even think about training. So the training is something that is just got to be fitted in around that, and I'm a retained firefighter to get money for the animals. So I'm an amateur, real amateur, kind of punching above my weight. I mean, I get invited to races and I'm lining up with highly
I'm not having this, Fiona Oakes, punching above your weight. When you run and win marathons on the North Pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
No, I tell you for what it is. The running is just, I'm an animal advocate applying my advocacy to whatever I do, to the athletics. Everything I do, I would expect to just do at the highest standard I can, and applying that to the running, the better runner I can be, the better results I can get, and the better I can promote what I know is right, which is an ethical vegan diet. And it's all about the animals. When I'm out there and I'm like, if I want to run 2:40 in a marathon or below, I'm not finding that easy. I'm disabled as well. I've got a really, really bad injury with my knee, which I was in and out of hospital when I was a teenager, and I was told I would never ever walk again properly, let alone ever run. I do that. Have to juggle that as well. And I never thought that I'd be able to run, let alone run marathons, let alone run sub 240 in a marathon. But it's all about knowing when I'm suffering and struggling. I know why I'm doing the running. I'm doing it to promote veganism in a positive way and offer proof that it can be done. That was the logic behind my running. It wasn't, I want to do this particularly. It was just I want to find a way, build a platform of which I can speak out for the animals. And for me, I was sick and tired of hearing these myths and fallacies and lies that, you can't be healthy on a plant-based diet. Even if you can be healthy, you can't be healthy and do extreme sport on a plant-based diet. And I thought, well, that's not true. I'm going to prove it wrong. And that's about my running. So I don't monitor my running. I know what suits me. I know where I'm supposed to be with my training. People do ask for advice. I just know I run 100 mile a week, 9 sessions a week. I do 3 speed sessions, and I know how I've done it. But it's always been done for the animals. It's never been done for me or results, other than to get those results and present them to people, the naysayers and the doubters, that this can be done and it should be done, and there's nothing prohibitive. So you can't, it's not that get out of jail card that a lot of people use. Oh yeah, I need meat and I need dairy to perform. You don't. And I just wanted to do something to prove that. So that's basically the long and short of my athletic prowess and ability. Yes, I've got 3 world records, and yes, I've run elite times, and I've top 20'd in a major marathons and whatever, but I wouldn't call myself a great athlete. I'm just a passionate animal advocate applying myself. That's all it is about me. So, yeah.
Thank you, Fiona. That's fantastic. Thank you. Christine.
Actually, Karen, you brought up a good point about difference between first and second place. Well, from my vantage point, I can tell you it's actually the difference between first and last place. I'm kind of like Fiona. I didn't go vegetarian as early. I'm 48 now, so I started when I was 29. I think I became. Yeah, I'm trying to do the addition. 28 was when I became vegan. And I also became a pro cyclist at the same time. So I was vegetarian already 10 years before that or something. So I only know the difference with my cycling from vegetarian to vegan. So I'm not even talking about like eating animals or milk I'm talking about, just vegetarian to vegan. And I remember I entered my first pro race thinking I was a badass. I mean, I always kind of had this idea in my head, I'm going to go as hard as I can just to win races because I was naturally gifted at the sport. I didn't have to try when I was an amateur. I just won everything. And then I kind of kept that mentality into my first pro race. And I thought, I got this, no problem. Well, the gun went off. I went flying. Everything was great. Everything was like roses and rainbows, puppies, kittens. And until like 5 minutes into the race, all of a sudden I blew sky high. It's like, not only did I hit a wall, but like there was like a whole field of people like with hammers knocking me on the head. And all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, I didn't have any energy because I tried pushing myself to the limit for the first time in my life. Before that I was a fencer, so it was all about intervals and stuff like that. No problem, I could do that fine. But as soon as I had to really push myself and dig deep, I realized something was amiss. And I actually studied to be a neurosurgeon, and then I discovered the bike. Dad was pissed, but that's a whole different story. I'm Greek immigrant, so it's only doctor, lawyer, and that's it. Sometimes computer person or I don't know. So anyway, here I was, back to the drawing board, thinking there has to be an answer because this is not possible. I know that I'm genetically gifted. I mean, if you see me, I'm built to be an athlete, and everything pointed to plant-based diet. And back then, we're talking, almost 20 years ago, I didn't really have too many role models. I knew of the couple of tennis players, but that's about it. And I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try it. I don't care, I'm just gonna go for it. I went for it, and it was amazing. Within it took about 3 weeks, probably for my body to adapt to, the withdrawal of milk and eggs and all of that stuff. And then all of a sudden I went from the fucking back of the peloton to the front, winning these races and passing all the people who asked me during my first race, my other competitors. And this is like a big, international event. Other competitors were passing me, asking me if I was okay in that first race. And now here I am, passing them after hour 1, 1 hour into the race, and I'm passing them for the win. And I did nothing. I had the same coach, also vegan. Everything was the same. So all I changed was my diet. And I told Karen this story once about like when you, and Patrick brought it up too, like where you have that moment of like questioning your diet. And back then, kind of like Patrick had nobody to look at to say, okay, it's good for intervals. By the way, Patrick, my job now is cyclocross racer. That's all intervals. I do probably within an hour, I probably do like 250 intervals at least. So yeah, it works for intervals too. And I'm talking like standing up power, jumping off the bike, running up hills, flying back on the bike. So it works for that too. Yeah. I know, too bad we didn't talk a few years ago. Anyway, so the story that I told Karen was, one of those moments. It was like back-to-back racing, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, I had a not-so-good race for, I think I was like, 14th. And I was like, oh my God, and I'm in the supermarket and another racer comes by who kicked my ass. And she says, maybe it's that stupid broccoli diet of yours. That's why you suck today. And, it gets in your head. This is like years and years ago, and it's like, I mean, when I became vegan, it was like nobody even knew what that was. And this was in, San Francisco. So it still was kind of backwards. There was only one town in the whole entire of California I felt that was like vegan, and that was Fairfax, California. And there's like all the tie-dye T-shirts and everything. So anyway, I'm standing there. I said, shit, maybe it is my broccoli diet. So I go into the fish aisle because like when you're backtracking, fish is kind of like the most acceptable of animal eating. Back then I didn't know much. So I'm sitting there sweating bullets, T-shirts sweating, I'm just a wreck, shaking literally. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to commit to this. I walked away from the fish aisle, went back, called my coach, told him what happened. And he said, you dumbass, what the fuck were you doing in the fucking fish aisle? You should have been at home on the bike, relaxing your legs, eating pancakes, and going to sleep early to get ready for tomorrow's race. And and the next day, I was like on the podium. So it was just like night and day. Yeah, we have bad days too. But now the difference is people don't point at my diet anymore. They just say, all right, she had a bad day. We all have bad days. But it's not so strange. And there are a lot of closet pro cyclists who are vegan. Nobody talks because it's still one of those sports where it's not quite accepted yet. But if you go, you sit there at the table, everyone's drinking rice milk. There's no more cheese on the pastas. There's no more meat at breakfast. Even the eggs are going away. So it's happening, guys. I'm done.
That's fantastic. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I really want to hear what these lovely people eat. I think I would like to take up what they're eating anyway. But I think let's throw it out to you first of all. Do we have any questions? We've got our lovely lady there. Jazz. Oh, I've said it wrong, haven't I? Jazz, our star microphonist. Here we go. Let's go over to you.
Hi there. Thank you for coming, by the way. Inspirational. It's actually about food I was going to ask the question about, because growth and repair is one of the things you all have to maintain. So I was going to ask for each person maybe to respond and just say what's your sort of top 1 or 2 growth and repair foods. And that's it. That's the question.
What I try to do is I try to have a protein in every meal. Because obviously for what I do, I need to pack a lot of muscle. And I need to pack more muscle on the body than the body would naturally do. So to get to that point, I just have to overwhelm my body with lots of protein. And to do that, I eat a lot of legumes. So it's all kinds of beans, lentils, everything. And for me, especially, that's pretty easy because I'm coming from an Oriental background. So we have a lot of. I'm born in Iran, and as a child, I used to have a lot of rice dishes with beans, lentils, everything. And I'm keep keep on eating that for protein. I also have tofu and soy-based stuff that is even higher in protein to get even more of that, and that's basically what I eat for growth. And then for repair, what I try is to have a high amount of whole foods and non-processed foods. And because I'm not very good at that, I'm basically a sweet tooth, and I'm eating crap all the time normally. So to get that a little bit better and have more good stuff, I use smoothies. So I have some large smoothies every day where I put all the fruits and all the leafy greens and everything in there. So I give my body everything it needs on top of the crap that I eat the rest of the day.
Do you have a protein in your smoothie as well?
Yeah, I use.
What one would it be?
In Germany, I have helped the brand build a completely vegan protein powder. It's a 4-component protein. Main component is pea protein, and then it's brown rice protein and hemp protein, and also, the fourth one, I don't know what it's called in English, but it's a fourth component too, where I don't know the English word for it. And we only have it in Germany, and so I'm using that, but you can pretty much use any good protein product. The idea is because the smoothie has pretty much everything you need, so it has minerals, vitamins, all the micro and macronutrients that you need. The only thing that's missing for me is protein, so I put some protein powder in it and I'm fine.
So for me, for recovery, time is a really important ingredient. So I had to eat within 20 minutes and also eat in a digestible and quickly absorbed state. So I used to go for liquids within 20 minutes of finishing it. And the first thing I had was beetroot juice. Now I just have beetroots. And then, I used to go for a smoothie. So hemp protein was always there. I always added a little bit of spirulina, chlorella as well, and then some berries. And that was my recovery drink. And then then I'd shower and do whatever I needed to do. But afterwards, I'd always have a big salad of broccoli. And I love quinoa. So I'd have pre-cooked quinoa. For me, it was always get it done quickly and easily. And it could be pre-made and made in batches. So when I say lying around, whatever's lying around your house, I was never precious. As long as I got within 20 minutes my beetroot in some form, preferably liquid, and that smoothie, then I could eat what I wanted as long as I felt full and happy.
Can I ask about the beetroot then? Was it cooked beetroot, and did you just cook it and leave it in the fridge? Wasn't it pickled or something, was it?
This was dehydrated raw beetroot, but that I was sponsored in Australia by a company who produced that. But now, you can eat roast beetroot and then just have it in your fridge and eat it like that. Or
Why beetroot though? Is it to do with your blood?
I want to say, I knew this when I started to drink it. It was 3 years ago. But it opens up it's absorbed. It helps the blood vessels recover and builds your muscles up. And you're nodding like you know as well. So it really. Okay. Yeah, for me, it was just, it really helped recover quicker and gave me my nutrients. So, so that's mine.
Brilliant, thank you. Fiona.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Is Fiona's mum in the audience?
Yeah.
Fiona's mum, I know, does the cooking.
Well, I've got a little...
I think Fiona's mum should come down here.
I think my mum might come and answer this. I've got a little devil on this shoulder that says, tell a lie, and I've got a little angel on this shoulder that says just tell the truth, and I'm going to go with the truth. We just have no money for anything. I do not have any spare money. I have to find £15,000 a month for my animals, and by the time 450 plus animals have been fed, there is nothing spare for me. We are on a donation program of fruit and vegetables from a supermarket, and I end up cutting off what is usable from those vegetables. And then my mum whisks them away and makes meals with them. Bearing in mind I've been vegan for so long, there were no products available where I came from for a dedicated vegan person, not even soya milk. So my diet is very, very basic and as cheap as it can possibly be. So even when I'm on a week-long stage race in the Sahara desert or I'm at the North Pole, I might take like a 50p Marbacre bar with me, and just as long as I've got the calories. I'm not running from my body. I'm running from my mind for the animals. That's all I do it for. I won't say I don't enjoy running. I don't enjoy it probably because I've got to cram it in with so many other things. I don't get an awful lot of time to enjoy it, and I do place the bar very high with my training. I know where I want to be and what I want to do. But I don't have any secrets, and I can't lie and tell you that I do. If it's cheap and cheerful. And I've always said with my food, and it's probably a bad thing to say with the sports people who do analyse, I always have felt very honoured to live in a country where we've got enough food. And if I've got enough calories, what I am inspired and what keeps me going is probably it's easier for me because I actually see the product of why I'm doing it every day. I've got animals. Yesterday we rescued 5 dairy calves. So I see that, and I know I don't need motivation or inspiration from anywhere else but just to go outside the door and see them. So I can't lie and say I do certain things because honestly I'd be lucky to ever get a smoothie unless there was enough veg to make one. And I don't take any vitamins or any of these fancy products and macas and things because they've been there, but I've never been able to afford them. So I've managed without, and that's the truth. So I'm sorry, it's not very glamorous, but it is the truth, and I don't want to lie to people. That's not me. So sorry.
Wow, now I have to follow up that one with my selfish response. Oh, God. I'm feeling I like animals too. Actually, no, I don't love animals since we're all doing confessions. I'm not an animal lover. I'm really sorry. But I believe that they have the same rights as we do. So, yeah. But, yeah, okay. But I do have a cat, if that counts. But getting back to your story, gosh, I recently switched in May. I switched to the ketogenic diet. So that's completely different from what you're looking for. So now actually, theoretically, after my workouts, I don't have to eat, and I'll recover a lot quicker than everybody else who is carb adapted. Because right now I'm fat adapted. So like right here, I'm sitting here on stage, and I'm burning fat. I haven't eaten all day. I don't have to eat. And as long as I have an ass, I'm okay. So I'm burning my fat, and I'm also building muscle while just sitting here. So that's my new diet. I'm actually going to be talking about that tomorrow at noon. But one thing that I do like to have if I come back, in fact, now I'm theoretically not supposed to rush to eat right after a workout because I'm doing the ketogenic diet. But what I do, or what I used to like to eat, and I still eat it sometimes, is like a chia pudding. It's like the easiest thing in the world to make. You just take chia, like a half a cup of, you guys do cups here, I think, half a cup of chia with 2 cups of I use unsweetened almond milk because it's 0 carbohydrates. And then I just add a little bit of vanilla extract or whatever, or a spoonful of coconut shreds. And then you just stir it and let it sit in the fridge. Or you can use coconut milk, which is even yummier, but then it's also a lot of calories. But as for protein and recovery, my trick, if you want to call it a trick or a secret, and it doesn't seem to be so well known, is that my protein is crazy fucking low. And I do that on purpose for recovery. Because even if I'm a big ass bodybuilder, I only need a fraction more than the everyday person. In fact, you go to any kind of hospital and the hospital beds are filled with people who ate too much protein their whole lives. And the problem with veganism is that people, they switch to veganism and then they say, oh shit, I gotta get my protein. I gotta replace this big void on my plate. So they all go crazy with all these protein things and they think protein, protein, protein. If I could keep it at 6% protein of my diet, then I'm happiest. In fact, the World Health Organization even recommends 6% of your diet be protein. And for an athlete, you don't need this massive amount of protein ever, 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 even if you're a bodybuilder. What it's gonna do is it's going to fucking kill you eventually. And it's, and before that, it'll be stored as fat. So yeah, you turn fat. Too much protein, fat. Yeah. All right, not conventional answer, but there you go.
Brilliant. Thank you. Absolutely fascinating. Any other questions? We've got time for a couple more, so don't be shy, because otherwise you will lose out of this opportunity. There we go.
I was just interested to hear whether, when you obviously race or compete, do you use any sort of supplements like cordyceps mushrooms or like maybe a BCAA or anything like that to recover or to perform better?
I use all of that. Everything. Yes, I use. So first of all, I think we have very different philosophies on the protein thing. But I have to tell you that as a former bodybuilder and as a strength athlete, well, I can't speak for anyone else than for myself. But I have a very scientific approach to. I've studied psychology, so we're very close with the neuroscience thing and everything. And I have a very scientific approach to what I do. So I've experimented with low protein, high protein, pretty much everything. And for me, I have to tell you that I have to have a certain amount of protein. Even the difference between 250 grams per day, which would be totally nonsense and crazy for you, and between 350, which would be batshit crazy. That's a huge difference in my performance. So and I just monitor it, so I know that it works for me. But I can only speak for myself. So yeah, I'm using BCAAs right before I train to just basically try to save muscle tissue that gets broken in training and have enough amino acid in my system to have the repair process as fast as possible. And I also use glutamine, and then. But what I have to tell you is that in the first 2 or 3 years when I went vegan, I didn't use any of these things. I only used creatine because that was the only supplement that I could really get where I knew 100% it's vegan. Everything else I didn't know, so I thought, okay, I'm just leaving all of that out. And before I went vegan, I used them. And the interesting thing was my performances still were getting better. Even without using all those supplements that I would use before. So I thought probably they don't really did anything. But then the company started to have vegan BCAAs and all of that stuff. So one after the other, I started trying them again. And I'm doing slightly better with the BCAAs. So I feel the BCAAs. Creatine is definitely something that works for me. And I also use something called beta-alanine. That's for muscle endurance, like for you guys it would be high intensity interval training that helps in that range. And for me, it's when I want to go for 90 seconds or something, when I have to do something that's more on endurance. And then on top of that, I use a lot of natural supplements like nutritional yeast, and oyster mushrooms for vitamin D and stuff like that. So yeah, I pretty much try to use everything that's in the arsenal that is vegan and that I can use that brings me closer to getting better, because the better I do, the better I can promote veganism. So I use everything I can get my hands on.
In a short answer to your question about supplements, I take nothing else. If I am feeling something like lethargic or tired or something, the way I work is to go back to why I'm feeling that. Why am I not sleeping well? Or why am I overtraining and that's why I'm falling ill? Or, I really try and find the source instead of patching it with a pill or a product, be it vegan or anything else. And so that's my methodology. But yeah, I don't take any supplements, no.
Well, that's fantastic. I just want to quickly wrap up because, we always need at least 6 hours, especially when you've got the sports experts with the microphone as well. But just generally, are you seeing more sports stars, athletic experts? Are there more becoming vegan? I know Christine sort of alluded to it earlier, that, there's a lot that actually don't even talk about it. They just quietly are vegan. But generally, is there a trend of more sports people being vegan? Well, I can see lots of nods, which is encouraging.
I have one thing to say I have one thing to say about that. Actually, the Belgian cook for the Belgian Olympic team feeds his athletes only vegan food, and they have one gold medal from the last Olympics, the cyclist. And I thought that was the coolest thing, that he's promoting veganism while they're doing sports, and he's winning. So that's all I have to say.
Veganism is growing. People are eating more consciously. So for whatever reason people get into it, be it for sport, performance, health, environment, animals, it's just amazing. And the results are showing for it. So it's natural in the field of sport. More people are turning to this because performance is there, results are there, and it's also becoming more straight mainstream because the business is here. So it's a natural progress for anyone trying to elevate their life on every level.
I totally see a lot of, especially young athletes, because in the field that I am in, you have a lot of brainwashing, like tens of years where a whole industry in the fitness world try to get into the heads of people and trying to convince them that you need fish and meat and you need all those animal products and whey protein and whatnot. So it's very hard to convince someone who had that indoctrination for 20 years. But the young athletes who are up and coming, a lot of them are already vegan or are getting vegan very fast after starting training. So it's very encouraging in that way. And also, there are a lot of closet athletes. I have some professional football players in Germany who contacted me via other persons trying to get advice from me because they had to be vegan secretly because they get penalized from their trainers and from their nutrition coach because they're so uninformed about the topic. So you absolutely have those closet cases, and there are a lot of athletes who do it openly. So I think it's pretty much exploding in the last 2 years. And then also when I went vegan, I think I was probably muscle-wise the biggest vegan there was in the world. Like you had actually bodybuilders, natural bodybuilders, weightlifters, but none of them were as heavy as I was at that time. And now, 2 years ago, I think Mr. Universe, Barney Duplessis went vegan. He's much bigger than I am. He's a fucking monster. So it's great to see all these people. And then I don't feel the responsibility of being the biggest vegan and having to do that for the next 100 years. So it's great to see that it's happening.
Well, thank you. Can we just have a huge round of applause? Because I'm so blessed to share the stage with these inspirational people. Got Patrick, Kate, Fiona, Christine. They'll be wandering around if you want to grab them, and I'm sure they'll be happy to take any more questions. But I think really, in a nutshell, veganism is growing like no other trend. Proven that it's healthier, it's kinder, it's better. And if you are somebody that has vegan products, really do shout about it, tell people. If you want more bums on seats, you need to let people know that you have something that is vegan friendly. What we said earlier is the vegans out there will do your PR for you. They will tell everybody when they're catered for well and when they're looked after well. And obviously we have high-end professional athletes here that just show you that you can not only do well on a vegan plant-based diet, but you can absolutely thrive and take things to the next level as well. So feel very blessed. So thank you again, guys. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do pop back here because we have lots more interesting speakers and talks going on as well. But thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.